Hello, MCU fans! Today we're going to be placing all of the Thunderbolts trailer scenes in order, including the brand new trailer, and boy did it fill in some missing gaps. So, lots to discuss, let's dive right in and see what we can find out. Don't forget we have a February contest running all month long. Be subscribed or leave a comment, you could win a book or a steelbook. Best of luck. And we have a membership option with lots of cool perks, so you might check it out in case you're interested. Alright, so we start with this peaceful look at New York, at least peaceful for now. We see Val, who is speaking before Congress and saying, let's talk facts. The Avengers are not coming. And that's really interesting considering what we saw in the trailers for Brave New World, where Ross is telling Sam, which is why I want you, Captain America, to help me rebuild the Avengers. So I do think parts of these two movies are going to be taking place simultaneously, but it does look like Sam has not built a team yet. And so therefore, Val is saying, who will keep the American people safe? Looking on is Bucky, who appears to now be a congressman. In fact, if we look at his pin here and zoom in on it, that is definitely a congressional pin. So yeah, very cool. I love the fact that it shows there are second chances in the MCU, and keep in mind, he was under mind control when he did all the awful things that happened in his past. But even a congressman has to wash his arm every now and then. Love that scene. All right, so then we see that Val is on the way to a big party. Notice what she's wearing. She's going to be wearing the same thing in a minute. And she says, I can't think of a worse group of people trying to work together. So I think she's plotting right now for the way to set up all of those Thunderbolts. But we'll talk more in a moment on that. All right, so they're attending a big-time party. You can see right here, that's Loki's scepter. And over here is a poster, which seems to be celebrating the Battle of New York. My guess is it's 15 years after May of 2012, meaning we're in May of 2027. All right, so Val is living large, notice wearing the same outfit she was wearing in that car, and Bucky is keeping a close watch on her. Meanwhile, poor Walker is reading about his downfall while his kid is crying. He's looking on his cell phone at The Fall of a Hero, the John Walker story. And if we zoom in, the important part is this first sentence. The story of what went wrong starts long before his unveiling just a few short years ago. And that fits with us being in 2027 because his unveiling would have been in 2024 in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I think this is roughly our timeline. I think Captain America Brave New World is probably in March of 2027, soon after the election of Ross, and then Thunderbolts is in May. But we'll find out. Captain America 4 is just around the corner. But of course, John Walker doesn't care about the timeline. He just cares about the bad press. And here we see him doing some work for Val, I'm assuming, as he's trying to get away from these guys with the laser scopes, hiding around the corner, shadow ops it's being described as. And we also have Yelena robbing government labs. In fact, we see her on this super tall building, just taking the typical Black Widow dive off the top, and little bitty Yelena right there. So here she is inside the lab, taking down these security guards, making sure that they are most definitely dead because, just finish them off just in case. And then this is from the new trailer. We see her inside the lab talking to, I presume, one of the guards that she beat up, saying, hey, it looks like your mind is somewhere else. She then runs across this doctor, but makes quick work of him, and she grabs this vial, which I'm assuming is for Val. We'll talk more about that later. She says this could get messy. Then she heads outside with presumably both the vial and that sweet little gerbil. She says the assignment is, oh wait, hang on. We see an explosion. Assignment is complete. And the little gerbil is really happy. He was really happy he's not up there being blown up, that's for sure. All right, so then we see Ghost on some contract kills, doing something really cool here, sliding down with a knife. I'm assuming this is more work for Val. We'll have to wait until the movie to find out for sure. And then we see Val's assistant, who we saw earlier. She's working on some type of secret project. I believe probably the Sentry project. We'll obviously talk more about that. Then we see Yelena going to talk to her dad. This is his limo that we're going to see later in the trailer. He says leave it on the porch because he thinks she's with DoorDash. She's like, come on, let me in. He's like, oh, it's Yelena. So runs in, cleans up really quick, puts on a robe, cleans his mouth out with dish soap, and lets her in. And she says, hi, Dad. I love her so much. All right, so he says, sorry about the wait. I was on an important call, highly classified, lots of work, many irons in the fire. But she asks him an important question. Do you feel fulfilled? And he says, oh, yeah, so full, so filled. But then he realizes there's something deeper going on. And he says, why do you ask? What brings you here? And this is important. She says, there's something wrong with me, an emptiness. I'm just drifting. I don't have a purpose. I thought throwing myself into my work was the answer. So I think at this point, he then goes with her on her next assignment because we see her next assignment. This massive cliff here. Here she is walking up to it. I think he drove her to this. So here we see her heading into this secret base of some type. The elevator opens. She starts walking around through it. I still don't know what these things are. If you have any thoughts, let me know in your comments. Those things in the plastic bags. But then she looks down and sees something really important. So all of this information are a lot of clues to what's going on in the movie. We see what looks like a lot of different hairstyles they're trying out. We see a lot of different letter S's they're trying out. So they're definitely trying to look for the most appealing type of superhero possible. Notice it says do not release. We see the Watchtower plans. And the Watchtower in the comics was the base of Sentry, who we're going to see eventually in the trailer. And maybe this is the doohickey on top of the tower. Kind of looks like from the comics that maybe they're going to eventually put on the top of Avengers Tower. We're going to see it isn't there yet, but maybe that was eventually their plans. But then U.S. Agent attacks. He starts shooting at Yelena. She blocks the shots. But he doesn't care. He's going after her. She makes a move towards him, pulls out her knife. Taskmaster then gets the jump on him and punts him across the room. Pulls out her arrow, and of course this is her old costume versus her new costume. Let me know your thoughts on which you like better. I kind of liked the old one a little better, I'll be honest, but the new one's growing on me. But then this is new from the trailer. She shoots her arrow at his shield, it explodes, and he's lucky he has that shield or he'd be toast. And then Yelena is crouching by a mysterious crate. So let's take a minute to talk about this, because I haven't mentioned this in any of my other trailer breakdowns. See the little symbol there? If you expand on it, it looks like an O, maybe an X in the middle, and then an E. Well, Entertainment Weekly released some stills from the movie, and notice this guard who's working for Val has the O, the X, and the E. Looks just like on that crate. So in the comics, it is a secret organization that Val's in charge of. It'd be interesting to see what it is in this movie, but it's probably just some type of phony organization she created to be able to hide what she's doing. But then U.S. Agent is definitely ready for a fight. However, behind him pops up Ghost. Here's Ghost's new outfit. Of course, that's her original outfit. I do like the new one better, but let me know your thoughts on that. So then U.S. Agent goes after Ghost. He swings at her. She phases, so he whiffs and misses. Then Yelena takes cover and throws a knife. I love that Ghost phases out, but then catches it. She chucks it over at Taskmaster, who deflects it over towards U.S. Agent, who catches it and then tries to stab Yelena with it. So this is going to be a really fun scene in the movie. All right, but then out crawls someone, and they say, it's getting so tense in here. Well, everybody stops, is like, what is going on? And he's like, no, don't. And they're like, who are you? And he's like, well, I'm Bob. So I believe for certain now that that is Bob Reynolds from the comics, who eventually does become the Sentry. So they're like, who sent you, Bob? And he's like, nobody. Wait, you were all sent? Yeah, so it looks like a setup. Val sent all of them there to get killed, either to kill Bob or for Bob to kill them. So then all the openings slam shut, and they are completely sealed into this room. And so now they're trying to figure out what is going on. So then Yelena starts to put it all together. Everyone here has done bad things, shadow ops, robbing government labs, contract kills, all probably for Val. And U.S. Agent's like, yes, so? And she's like, so someone wants us gone. Again, definitely Val. And then I love this. He's like, well, you, the former Red Room assassin, God only knows the blood on your hands. And Ghost retorts with, well, that's pretty ludicrous coming from the dime store Captain America. And he's like, I'll have you know I was actually the official Captain America. To which they say, yeah, for like 2 seconds. And he's like, ha. Yeah, she's right, though. Poor dude. Anyway, goes from bad to worse because the room looks like it's about to get cooked. There's 1 minute timer goes off, and they're all like, okay, we got to get out of here. And then we see Taskmaster standing in the room when it goes red. But I think this is the trick by Marvel because there was an earlier trailer where it wasn't red. So I think this is actually a scene from earlier, before the room goes crazy, and that Taskmaster is dead at this point. But let me know your thoughts on that. But anyway, they have got to get out of this room, so they book it, and the big explosion occurs. And I think here, all we're seeing is basically U.S. Agent, Yelena, Ghost, and Sentry. I think Taskmaster is already dead. Anyway, this is really interesting. So it looks like that's Yelena with a gas mask on, and then she opens fire on somebody, and it turns out it's Walker. He's like, no, stop, it's me, it's John, stop. And she's like, well, where were you? And he's like, well, where were you? So it looks like they had some plan for how to get out, and of course, it didn't quite work right. But what I really want to point out is that is Bob with Yelena. And it looks like maybe he's got a gas mask on and his hands are cuffed. So that's interesting. At this point, at least, Bob is still with them. But then I think they get separated from him because we see all these troops running up, and there's an explosion, and out comes Bob, and they open fire on him. They open fire really heavily on him. So I don't know if this is where Bob learned he's bulletproof or if he already knew in advance. But yeah, he does not look happy. But the key is he's not with the team, at least for now. Hold on to that thought. Meanwhile, the rest of the team is in the Red Guardian limo service. That's the limo from earlier in the trailer. And Red Guardian's saying, oh, America is so big. Did you ever drive through Oklahoma? So flat. Yelena's like, have you slept? And he's like, well, I'll sleep when I'm dead. U.S. agent's like, well, I would rather not die today, so maybe someone else should be driving? And then we get this great line from Red Guardian. He says, this has the making of a team that can rise to glory, that can bring light from the darkness, that can be the heroes on the Wheaties box. Yelena's like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. He's like, with the little kitty toy. And she's like, I find it best just to ignore him. But then they have a bigger problem than Red Guardian because a convoy is approaching fast. And U.S. agent says, step on it, but this thing can only go, 44 miles per hour, so they ain't getting away. Then it looks like it's about to open fire. So Red Guardian says, engaging defensive measures, which pretty much just turns on fancy lights and opens up the wine bar. And then, yep, sure enough, they're firing on the vehicle. Red Guardian's like, don't worry, she's bulletproof, but it ain't bulletproof. So Walker, shield, says Ghost. And he puts up his shield and then screams, what happened to bulletproof? To which the answer is, well, it's bulletproof-ish. But then Yelena decides, all right, I'm going to help out here. Either does a really nice shot on this vehicle or it's the arrival of Bucky. Oh my gosh, dude looks so good in this trailer. And I love this. U.S. agent's like, is that Bucky? And Red Guardian's like, oh, it's the Winter Soldier. That guy's so cool. Of course, we've seen the two of them partnering up in season 3 of What If, so they're going to be best buds by the end of this movie. I mean, they have so much in common, right? But anyway, Bucky does a sweet move, shoots this grappling hook at the truck, and then puts on his brakes, right? And then at the other end, he grabs the grappling hook, puts his hand into the ground, and flips the vehicle. Such a cool move. Oh, but he's not done yet. Nope, he's ready to fire on their vehicle. They're like, that's not good. No, it's not, because he fires the thing on the back of the vehicle, and boom, blows up the car. Then, this is fascinating. This is from the new trailer. It looks like Bucky takes them as prisoners. So, he says, there's some big threat out there, and you are going to help me stop it. So Yelena's like, wait, us? And he's like, yeah, you. Why? You got someplace to be? And Red Guardian's like, I love that guy, and laughs. Then this is interesting. Entertainment Weekly released this image, and it sure looks like Bucky is now calling someone. Is he maybe calling Val to figure out what's going on? Or is he maybe figuring out Val is behind all of this? Anyway, this is fascinating. So the latest trailer has this weird scene where Red Guardian, I think, is ripping a pillow. Seems to be back in his house in the attic. But over on the right, I think that's Bob with them. Notice the shirt he's wearing, kind of bluish. It's the same shirt that shows up in another image from Entertainment Weekly, where Bob is now back with everybody again. And they seem to have gone back to the lab where Yelena was stealing that stuff earlier in the trailer. I mean, are they going back and retracing all their steps to figure out what Val is up to? Anyway, I think it's fascinating that they're with Bob at this point, but they're not going to be with him for long. So anyway, now they decide it's time to break into Avengers Tower, and I love that image of it. You can tell it's still under construction, but looks so sweet. All right, so the reason I'm saying they're breaking into the tower is keep an eye on what Bucky is wearing. Notice right now he's wearing a jacket. So Red Guardian says, what kind of super serum did you get? And he's like, I don't know, the regular, Hydra. And he's like, oh, Hydra, fancy. These two have so much in common. I love seeing them bond. But anyway, he screams and yells in excitement as they ram the truck through what I believe is the bottom floor of Avengers Tower, and they start beating up all these guards. I love Walker just ramming that dude's face against the truck. Ghost takes one out. Bucky takes one out. Yelena's kicking butt. So yeah, they have pretty much finished off everybody. And then Yelena says, so none of us can fly. So what? We just punch and shoot? Well, we're going to find out. But first, they got to go talk to Val. So this is a great narration from Val where she says, we're brought up with this belief that there are good guys and there are bad guys. But eventually, you come to realize there are bad guys and there are worse guys and nothing else. So she's trying to console them, but they're not buying it, right? They are ticked at her. So she says, how crazy is it to think of all the monumental fights that have happened exactly where you're standing? In fact, where she's standing is the same bar where Tony Stark poured himself a drink before confronting Loki. So yeah, so cool that the bar stayed around. A lot of other things changed, but not the bar. Anyway, they are not happy, and they walk past another artifact that Val has that is most definitely a Chitauri weapon. So she says, I mean, this place wasn't cheap, but it's got good optics. And look at you, so adorable. Yeah, they're not adorable. They are ticked off. And as I've said before, I don't think that is really Taskmaster. I think they have digitized her in and she is already dead. But let me know your thoughts on that. All right, so Val is trying to warm them over with her smile. Yelena returns the smile and then gives her the, okay, we need to talk business here. So she turns first, though, and says, who is this old Santa? Which is funny because David Harbour played a Santa in Violent Night, and he says, I'm the Red Guardian. She's like, what? So that's our evidence that she did not hire Red Guardian. She hired all the other ones, but Red Guardian being here is a total surprise to her. Anyway, he says, we're the Thunderbolts. So he's really trying to get that name to stick. It's not going to stick, but he's trying. So then Bucky says, what's the plan? And then I think we learn what the plan is, and that is that Sentry is going to make his big entrance. So he's picking up this belt buckle, which if we flip it around, it's clearly an S. So that's Sentry's belt buckle, and that's his boot as he's walking down the stairs. So this is what he looks like in the comics. And the reason I think this is all the same scene is there's the Thunderbolts right there, still talking to Val. And then I don't know what's changed, but they're not happy to see him. Yet they were working with him earlier. So there are definitely some big things missing from the movie in the trailers. And I love that. Keep it a mystery. Keep it a mystery. Anyway, so Bucky opens fire, and it looks like Sentry's not playing around. He grabs Bucky's arm and says, you thought you were going to be some great saviors? You can't even save yourselves. And it's really interesting. His voice, if you listen to the trailer, it's almost like there's two voices. Because basically, we're going to see that there are two personalities going on with Sentry. But anyway, he's basically chucked everyone against the wall there, defeated them all. And now he shows off his strength. In fact, notice there on the left, you can see a little bit of Sentry. He's now got long blonde hair, got his superhero outfit on, but he chucks Red Guardian out the window. Oh my word. I mean, I know he's a super soldier, but I don't know how he's going to survive that. Anyway, Sentry now appears to be taken over by the Void. Now, in the comics, the Void is actually a second personality. It's the evil part of him. I mean, the Sentry himself, Bob Reynolds, is not evil, but the Void is. So it has seemingly taken him over, which is why he's gone all dark there. And then it's also worth noting, I think this is the same window that he chucked Red Guardian out of. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So the Thunderbolts have now gone down to street level. Notice that Bucky is no longer wearing his jacket. And Yelena is saying, we can't do this. No one here is a hero. But then Red Guardian tries to rally them by saying, we are the Thunderbolts. He's like the cheerleader. I love him. He's like, Thunderbolts, it's a cool name. They're like, oh my gosh, it's such a not cool name. We can't call ourselves that, says Bucky. Ghost doesn't like it. And even Walker's like, thank you. But the reason I think this is happening before all the destruction starts occurring is notice, people are just kind of walking past him like everything's fine, no big deal. But then everything starts to go crazy. So this truck starts barreling down, hits this news van, basically sends it airborne. Yelena's like, oh crap. But Bucky jumps in front, uses his arm to basically ricochet the truck over. That is so cool, so cool. But meanwhile, we have the Void causing lots of destruction. Pretty sure he does something to this helicopter that then sends it crashing into the building and exploding. That also seems to knock these girders down. So that's not good. In fact, the Thunderbolts are like, yeah, that is definitely not good. What are we supposed to do? Then everything starts falling down, raining destruction everywhere. I don't know what they're holding up here, but it looks like they're working pretty hard at it. Poor Yelena is doing everything she can to stop it from destroying something. But yeah, they're all looking worn out and trying to figure out what to do next. And then the Void starts using this insane power, just dusts this dude. And starts doing it to these other people too. Watch this girl, just boom. I mean, what is that? And then this dude, same thing. I mean, just wiping him out, sending him to, quote unquote, the Void. By the way, I do not think it's the same Void as in Loki. That's just a coincidence. They have the same name. But yeah, what is he doing? This is not a power he had in the comics. So I'm really curious what people think is happening here. And then it looks like he's sending the entire city into the Void as it's being covered in darkness. He did the same thing in the comics, sending the Void over and killing tons of people in the process. And then this is wild. Yelena is now going to enter the Void. You can see it there in front of her, and she's just walking right into it. Maybe she's going to try to talk the Void down. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how they're going to defeat Sentry / the Void. I mean, he is incredibly powerful. But it looks like the rest of the team is now heading in with her. Notice Red Guardian does not have his headpiece on anymore, so that's an indication that we're much later in the movie. Maybe the final battle, in fact. And then we're just going to close with this. I'm not sure when it happens, but notice no helmet. And he says, Yelena, when I look at you, I don't see your mistakes. That's why we need each other. And she says, okay, that was really good. And gives him a nice, sweet hug. So I love these two together. They are going to be so good. All right, so Val may regret bringing the team together. Be careful who you assemble, the Thunderbolts. Can't wait to find out what that asterisk means. Maybe Dark Avengers, maybe Avengers. We'll find out before long. So let me know, do you think I got everything right, or do you think I messed anything up in this order? And what do you think about the movie in general? Are you excited to see it? Because I sure am. I love the new Wheaties-themed poster. That is so awesome. So yeah, cannot wait. It is going to be oh so good. All right, so don't forget, February contest. Be a subscriber, leave a comment, win a book or a steelbook. And there's the membership option in case you're interested in that. And then I always love to mention the Discord. Here we are in the news section. We post all the latest trailers, etc. for DC, Marvel, Star Wars, you name it. So there's 1,900 members across the globe, conversations 24/7, and I'll leave a pinned comment so you can join. Also, if you don't mind, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out more content, and we'll all continue to enjoy the ever-growing, the ever-changing Marvel Cinematic Universe.